know how to stay consistent in your parenting when your spouse comes and goes? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about staying consistent with your parenting, even though you might be doing it alone. I know that the ideal is for husband and wife to do things consistently and match their parenting, because that decreases the anxiety for the children the most, increases predictability, creates increased family unity. But I also know that you can't control another person. You just can't. In fact, I've got some stories that I'm going to share about me and others who have been through this little situation and what we did in order to make it through and help our husbands get on the same page with us. Now, I don't want to throw men under the bus, because I know sometimes it's the husband who's wanting to do self-government and it's the wife who is not wanting to do that. Either way, let's have a conversation about it. People have been watching this channel for many years now, and for 25 years now I've been teaching self-government around the world. Literally all over the world. Many, many lands. And I think people assume when they meet my husband that he must have just naturally loved this, always done this. Maybe even that I learned it from him. That is not true. Absolutely. My husband and I learned some of the skills of self-government training when we were doing therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens. This is when our oldest children were just little babies at the time. And he thought it was great for helping these troubled children. It was a job that I had to help him get through his schooling that he needed to do. And then as soon as he was done with the schooling and I was done doing foster care, he said, okay, well, that's good. We don't need to do that anymore. Whew, I don't like saying that many words. And I said, wait a minute, what do you mean? Of course we have to do this. I mean, this is what we're using for our children. And he said, well, there's nothing wrong with our children. Our children are fine. And I said, well, there's a reason they were fine, because they don't have all the misbehaviors that most children have, because we've been using these skills. I'm not going to stop using them. And he's like, well, I'm not using them. I don't think it's necessary. So that little rebellious side of my husband came out. For 1.5 to 2 years, he didn't want to do it. And I decided, well, do I use him as my excuse for why I ruin relationships and get angry with my children? Because he started getting his temper back, which he didn't have during that time of doing foster care, because he knew he couldn't. I decided I couldn't use him as an excuse. I was accountable to my maker for what I did with my children. And so I would not turn my children against their father. They were going to need to adapt with the differences. But I also knew they would probably turn their hearts toward me, because I would be consistent, structured, calm, predictable. And with him, they did not know what they were going to get. And sure enough, that is what happened. And I tried to express that to him, that they behaved differently with me than they did with him. And did he see that? Did he notice that? He didn't really want to pay attention to it. And then finally one day, my prayers got answered, because yes, I was praying for my husband all the time. He sat down on the couch one Saturday afternoon and went, ugh. And something inside me said, this is the moment you've been waiting for. So I looked at him and I said, what do you want? And he said, what do you mean, what do I want? That's a pretty broad question. And I said, well, I mean, you're clearly frustrated. What is it that you want? And he said, I just want them to do what I say. And I said, oh, well, just tell them that it's an instruction. And then they'll do all of the steps to following an instruction. They know how to do that. And he looked at me and he said, oh, that. And he said, you're right. I'll probably just have to do all of that again. And at that point, I even took it to the next level and had a couples meeting with him, because we hadn't had those for a while. And all the things started coming back that we had put in place with all of our foster children and when our children were little. He had to pick it for himself. That was a big deal. Now, that's one type of coming and going, but I know there's another type of coming and going. Sometimes the spouse isn't there. Sometimes the spouse is working far away, and maybe they're an airplane pilot and they're home for 2 days and gone for 5 days, and then, you know, and this repeats, and so they're in and out, and when they come, they just want to play and have fun. They don't want to be the parent. That can happen. What do you do then? Well, the easy answer is stay constant. Do it for yourself And for your children, they need the structure. Don't use that other person as the excuse. They can't be your excuse. That's passing the buck. A truly responsible parent does the hard thing even if they have to do it alone sometimes. And if you're willing to do it alone with no hard feelings about that spouse's heart will change. If they don't feel judged, if they don't feel condemned, and you keep inviting them along, bringing them along whenever possible, soon they'll start acting the way you do and act like they were in all the way along. The children might even start teaching your spouse as well. That can happen. So what are some of the key things that you need to teach your family? That's what we need to talk about next. If you've subscribed to this channel, you know this whole channel is covered with lessons about self-government. But if you want to get the quick overview of some of those skills and principles of self-government, then I highly recommend watching now the video, The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. It is a 1-hour class. It is in no way an exhaustive teaching, but it will help you know more about the pieces you're going to want to put into practice, whether your spouse is right there with you all the time or not. You can do this. I've done it. Other parents have done it too. And I'm honestly inspired by what I see, by the love and the caring of that other spouse that doesn't want to be on the same page or isn't there a lot of the time. So stay focused, work on your heart, and everyone else's heart will change too. Click on the link to The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success next. I'll see you there.